Hello, good evening. This is Miss Dagenford, and I wanted to give you a head start on the light dependent reaction of photosynthesis. Now, in class today, we went over the intro to photosynthesis and pigments, and now we're going to get to the real big reactions that happen. And this is going to happen, just as a reminder, here's our schematic. This is going to be happening in the thylakoid membranes of the chloroplast. And so if I were to draw the little diagram down here, it's these little membranes that they're blowing up here. So this whole thing right here is the thylakoid, just one of them. And this is just showing one set of reactions. But you would have a whole bunch. I mean, we're talking about millions of these little photosystems and electron transport systems all over the thylakoid studying this membrane. So just to give you a sense of proportion, even though they're only showing one, this is happening thousands and thousands of times over. So the light dependent reaction is so named because this is the one that directly uses light. So we can look through this diagram. Now, I gave you two copies of this. You'll see one copy here, and then if you flip the page over, you'll see another one. So usually what happens is you make one that's maybe not quite as neat. So here's our light waves coming down. And so you can, as you make the first one, you can use that second one as practice. So here's our light waves coming down. Now in green, you'll notice the green little molecules here are chlorophyll. And we have two types. Remember, we talked about chlorophyll A and B, and they're going to be within these photosystems. Now, these photosystems are a little unusual in terms of their numbering. Photosystem 1 is the one on the right here. It was discovered first. So because it was discovered first, it got the name Photosystem 1. And then later on, they found the photosystem that actually began the reaction. But because it was discovered second, they called it Photosystem 2. So that's a little frustrating, and I get that. Sometimes I like to think of it as like a countdown 2, 1, 0, and um, sometimes that can help me remember that it goes photosystem 2 and then photosystem 1. So, what we want to do right now is just kind of talk about the major players. So, we have light, we have the photosystems, and the photosystems are a collection of chlorophyll molecules where they are harvesting light energy. And all of these light wavelengths bombarding the chlorophyll molecules, and the electrons in the chlorophyll are getting excited. They're absorbing the energy and they're bouncing around in their orbitals, and they're passing on the energy to this one set of chlorophyll molecules right here. And that set of chlorophyll molecules is unique in that the electron can actually bounce up and out. Whoa, sorry, that I thought that was a thin one. That electron, there we go, is going to bounce up to a little electron acceptor. And then that electron, just follow the arrow here, that electron is going to bounce from one molecule to the next. Now, this electron is then going to get donated to the next photosystem where it's going to absorb still more light energy. And so the photosystem 1 has more chlorophyll molecules that are absorbing the light energy. And again, the electrons are all getting excited. They pass the energy to electron that can bounce up again to an electron acceptor, bounce to two other molecules, and um, as it does so, there's something unique that happens. That electron that has absorbed that energy is excited. It has a lot of energy. And so every molecule that now has it has that little bit of energy. So we go from this molecule to this molecule, and I'm showing exclamation points like it has that energy. Then to this molecule, to the photosystem, that excites, that gets excited by the light, and then it gets excited, this molecule gets excited, this molecule gets excited. So there's energy within this electron that has absorbed that light energy. And it then kind of passes from one molecule to another, also transferring that energy. So there's something that's going to be happening in these light purple molecules. These light purple molecules are accepting the electron and passing it on, accepting the electron, passing it on. So it's no surprise that we call these three here an electron transport system. And so we have one there, and then I'm going to abbreviate this one just to save some space. We have an electron transport system here. And these molecules are unique in that they are in this order where they happily accept an electron, an excited electron, and then happily donate. Now, there's something unique about this middle one, though. Notice this arrow that's indicating something going in. And that something going in is going to be hydrogen ions. These are really just positive charges. They're protons. And so every time an excited electron passes from one molecule to the next, and so here would be another one. Let me use just a different color here. So another electron gets excited, gets passed down, passed over, and then passed down. Every time it passes this middle one, a proton can be actively pumped in. It's active transport. And so what you end up having inside this thylakoid space is a whole bunch of positive charges, hydrogen ions. And so sometimes books will show the hydrogen with the positive, and then sometimes it's just a positive charge. But really, they mean the same thing. A hydrogen ion is simply a proton. So the job of the first photosystem, which is photosystem 2, is to develop this concentration gradient. The job of the second photosystem, photosystem 1, is to capture that electron and that hydrogen in a molecule. And that molecule, you want to think of like a little dump truck. It's a carrier. So we're going to take a molecule that's called NADP+, and it's going to swing by, grab the electron and a hydrogen, and you're going to have NADPH. And forevermore, I want you to kind of think about this as being a little dump truck. And of course, what's the purpose of a dump truck but to dump? So the question you should be thinking about is, okay, where is it going to go? Where is it going to dump this electron and hydrogens here? So, so we have our chlorophyll. We have our electron transport system. Now, here's something that's interesting. Chlorophyll molecules cannot keep giving electrons away. That's just not going to happen. So once one electron gets excited, and again, I can, show you another time. Here's light energy hitting electron. The electron gets excited. It gets bounced from one molecule to the next, exciting them, and we can pump a hydrogen ion. It goes to the next photosystem. It absorbs more light energy, bounces up, over, and then that electron gets joined to another NADP plus and a hydrogen to form NADPH. So this keeps happening, but it's not going to keep happening unless you get a replacement source of electrons. And so over here is an enzyme that is taking water and separating it into electrons. So we get a couple of electrons. We've got oxygen gas that will just escape. And then we've got some hydrogens, which are lo and behold going to be used in the same way that all of these other hydrogen ions are going to be used. So what's happening with this? We are building up a very nice high concentration of hydrogen ions, high concentration. And if you recall, I said, hey, this is somewhat familiar. We've got a hydroelectric dam that uses the potential energy in water. We've got a lot of potential energy here in this high concentration of hydrogen ions. And if we let them flow through, we could capture that potential energy. And sure enough, this is one of the more important discoveries that happened um, in the latter half of the 1900s, the ATP synthase. And we kind of understood what it did, but it really took until like in the 90s until we kind of understood how it worked. So the ATP synthase is allowing the hydrogen ions to diffuse through, and it powers it. It actually spins it. It's a little motor, and I'll show you a little video of it in class. This little enzyme spins around, and as it spins around, it can convert ADP and a phosphate to ATP. And this is all happening because the light wavelengths are being absorbed by electrons and getting excited. And that light wavelength, getting that electron excited, is what really drives this proton gradient. So our two products are ATP and NADPH. Now we also produce oxygen as a byproduct of that water splitting, but that's a waste product. So I'm going to leave this up here. You can pause it here if you want to catch up or make the other diagram prettier. But then I'm going to scoot it up here, and here's kind of the steps broken down. And so that should help you kind of outline everything. And then we'll go over this in class, and of course make sure we are clear about this. But here's all of the outline that you need. So hopefully that will get us going um, and working to kind of further our understanding in class. And we can practice and understand it better. Have a nice night, and hopefully this helps.